want.
Alright, so the first thing I like to do is take an inventory of what this engine comes with, so I'll know what I gotta take off that one. So for instance, it comes with a crank sensor, which is nice, but no trigger wheel for the crank sensor. It does not have a block heater. Got studs for the manifolds, the mounting bosses for the fuel injection pump. It's got the oil cooler and a hose going up that goes to the bottom hose, front crank seal. It's got glow plugs in it. Nice little sticker with the glow plug part number. Got our seals for our injector. So it's got a fair amount of stuff on it. That lets me know what I gotta change over. And this is the kit to install this engine. So we'll open that up and look at it. But one thing I've noticed it doesn't have, and I don't think that kit comes with it, and that's the zero clearance patch. That looks like this right here. It's just a shiny piece of tin foil that you glue to the block. So we'll crack this box open, do an inventory of what's in there, and we'll make a list of what we need. I'm going to need that patch for sure. And like on this, I'm going to need this fitting, because you would never ever want to use that fitting and you can't get the O-ring for it. That's the cool. So let's take an inventory of what's in our little prison box. Fuel lines. Fuel filters. One gasket set containing gaskets. Exhaust manifold gaskets. Fuel lines, thermostat, warming clamps for a turbo. Injector washers, motor mount nuts, exhaust manifold hardware. Injector hold down bolts, exhaust manifold hardware. Flywheel bolts, torque motor nuts, motor mount bolts. Looks like they thought of everything. And then intake manifold, EGR. Fuel lines. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and tear the core down. I'll film putting the new one back together. And then later on, we'll tear that core down and see what it looks like, all the broken parts. I've got a couple of videos taking these injectors out. This engine's out on the ground, a little easier to get to. This is the hole down. It sits like that right there. And then some people, instead of using a correct tool, they'll just flip this upside down and hit this with a hammer and use it as a fulcrum to pop the injector out. Now the Duramax injector hold downs are a lot bigger than this, same design, and they're a little more durable. These things break all by themselves, and I wouldn't really recommend using this to pop the injector out. Instead, you just use this tool, supplied by Ford. Pretty easy to work. Get a bolt, rides on this shaft. Excuse me. The remover rides on this shaft. This is a 4mm. This is a 12. So that just simply gets bolted into the cylinder head. You take a 12mm socket. This is going to push against that bolt. Got a little ball in the end of it. And it's going to pull that injector out as it rides up on that shaft. See, the injector just pulled right out. Just pull the whole assembly out. Pull the injector out. Now you're left with the bolt still in the head. And just simply take it out. And then just slide this back down on there. You're ready to take the other one out. Next, and then next, and then next. So let's get a little different angle on the next one.
Hobbs 701, Jared Hobbs 701.
So now it's time to prep these injectors, put them back in the engine. Biggest thing you gotta concentrate on is keeping them in the correct spot in which they go. So you gotta lay them out. It's pretty important. The copper washer at the end of it, as these injectors, they redesign them. The old ones you had to pry them off with a hammer and a screwdriver, and these they just fall right off. But the tip is a little different, and it just fills up with carbon. So you got to get all that carbon out of there, or your new washer won't seat correctly. I mean, you really got to get right after it, and it fills up. So I'm just using a razor blade, but you can use a pocket screwdriver or whatever works for you. And then you trusty brake clean to clean it all out. on the external part of this injector, you can't hurt anything on it. I mean, you could, you know, do anything you want with it. You're not going to damage it. So if you look real closely, you can see that cavity down there. It's just, I mean, it just can fill right up with carbon. So you want to get all that out of there so nothing's hanging out, so that the copper crush washer will, the seal at the end will sit flush. Then there's only one O-ring on the body. Just pop it off, put a new one on there. You can double O-ring that though. You can forget to take the old one off and put the, you can just, if you get to doing something and walk away or whatever, just roll the new one down on there. And I'll seat it up into the top land of the, where the O-ring groove is. And then there's a little bitty O-ring for the quote return line in unquote, which is actually more of a charge line. This injector won't operate without fuel in it. So this return line, as they call it, is also, it's where it pre-charges the injector to fill it with fuel, because that line has base fuel pressure in it, which is on these engines is about 70 psi. So if you're returning fuel, you have to have, if the pressure is higher than 70 psi. So everything's ready now. We're going to put the lower seal, you know, the gasket where it goes into the combustion chamber. And I just use a little transmission fluid, transmission assembly lube. It's thicker than anything else and it stays put. You can use Vaseline, you can use whatever you want, but if you just put that washer on there, it'll slide right back off. So, you know, this goo here just keeps it in place for a little bit while you're assembling the injector back to the cylinder head. So we're going to rinse and repeat for all the other injectors. And then I think that's all we got left to do on these. And then next, I'm gonna put the new O-ring on the high pressure fuel pump. And the easy way to do this, it's kind of like when you build a transmission. You just squeeze the O-ring, and then you can pop it right out of there. You don't have to use any picks or scribes or anything like that. You don't worry about damaging where the O-ring goes. So you just give it a little squeeze and pull it right off of there. And then we'll pop our new one on. Make sure it's not rolled. Good to go.